There are three aspects to responsive design. Number one is the fluid grid. Fluid grid started with the idea of actually a liquid layout. You remember what those were like about 3 or 4 years ago, where the design expands to the actual width of the screen. Those were really hard to manage, and in fact, they looked pretty downright ugly after a while. So fluid grids go a few steps beyond traditional liquid layout. Instead of designing a site based on pixels or even arbitrarily determined percentages, a fluid grid is designed in terms of proportions. This way, as a mobile device reads your site, the proportions are correct. Things can move around based on the proportion they've been given. In order to calculate proportions for each, you have to keep in mind the target, and we'll look at that as we go. Generally speaking, typical size like a 960 pixel across grid will be divided up into 12 columns that can then be assigned different elements and different widths based on the viewport. So the first part of this, fluid grids. Each container becomes a percentage of the whole rather than the fixed pixel width of a design. The second part is media queries, and media queries are where responsive design gets its real power. These allow you to gather information about the site visitor and use that to determine the conditions for the cascading style sheet styles. We're primarily interested in the min-width media feature here, and we'll look at that more deeply in the next session. Number 3, flexible images. In other words, images that shrink and grow as the browser is resized. There's a lot of discussion about this right now because there are a lot of problems necessarily with images in mobile design. Someone has said that if users would wait 10 seconds for a desktop version of your site, they'll only probably wait 3 seconds for a mobile version. And as it sits, most mobile sites are still loading the images at their full resolution and then shrinking them down. So if you've got a web page that's 600, 700, 800 kilobytes in size because of the images, and you're on a 3G network, chances are people are going to abandon your site before they ever get to the content. So those are the three main elements of a responsive design: flexible grid, media queries, and responsive images.